Today we're going to be tackling my favorite kind of build. Don't go away. Hello everybody and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And today indeed we're going to be tackling what I consider to be my favorite kinds of builds, a kid paint car. So, with no further ado, let's get busy. Today would normally just be a simple restoration of a Sweet 16 Hot Wheel Redline Python, but there's a fly in the ointment. Even though no kid painted this car, I think of it as a kid paint because of the great decorating job done to this car with the flower decals. Thus, I'm going to treat this one as a kid paint car, and that always takes some soul searching. Other than its beater looks, this car isn't in the worst shape, so this build is really more about the image rather than a big fancy technical build. And here's a great trick you can do with the Vix bits that I use for shielded drilling. Find the bit that fits down over the post and use it to drill the end of the post after you get the car apart. It does an amazing job of preparing the post for drilling and tapping. Check this out. The perfect centered dimples in the both posts. Look at that. Perfect for drilling out these posts. Yes, I am drilling and tapping the posts, which I guess just goes to show you can indeed teach an old dog new tricks. I think that I really have kind of gotten past this issue of mine. With everything taken apart and prepped, I can now run the body through the warm liquid goo phase. Yes, it really is time for a new vat of goo, so this may be one of the last times you see this crusty jar of Wiedersehen goo. While the body marinates, I can run the base through the lime away mixture. It's just 50-50 lime away to water. The base is in good shape. It only needs a very short bath, some brushing, and a little bit of polish. Yeah, the base is coming out very clean and shiny. I'm really happy about it. Since the base is in a happy place, I can go ahead and check on the body. I just pull it out of the goo and take a quick look at it. It looks pretty good, so I'll take it for a quick bath. The paint is gone, and I actually now have a plan in mind, and it only is going to require just a clean, straight body. So I brush it, I give it a light sanding, and then I can go ahead and start the paint job I have in mind. Yeah, I'm not going to need to worry about the sheen or toning or anything here. I just want the body to be smooth and flat and looking good. I'm going to jump over and deal with the windshield now for two reasons. One, it'll be ready when the rest of the car is. And two, since I have my sanding sponges out and I do want to lightly sand this windshield, I might as well do it now. So I sand the glass with a 2000 grit sponge, then I polish it up with my beloved flits. It actually comes out so good, I could use it just like this, but hey, I don't want the gauzy to get lonely. So I pop open the gauzy and give the windshield a quick dip, and then I toss it into my beloved onion saver and I can set it aside for now. I'm over at the paint booth and I can finally execute my plan. No Spectraflame paint today. Yes, in keeping with the look of the original car, it will be red, but I will be using a nice bright opaque red from Tamiya. I think this will work out well as I move forward with the flower power theme I have in mind. After mixing the Tamiya paint with a healthy dose of leveling thinner, I lay down the red, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. In fact, this red is giving me another idea, and so we're going to revise things just a bit, and you'll see that later. I'm really loving the look of this. Came out great. All I need to do is set it aside to dry. The car is completely dry, so now I can go ahead and lay down some flower power decals. I created copies of the original flowers in Illustrator, and I made a flower power logo for the sides of the car, and I sent them to the printer, and now I can go ahead and apply them and really make the flower power feel of this car begin to happen. So I'm just going to be loose and eclectic with the decals, kind of holding a little bit to the way the kid had them on here, but I'm not going to feel constrained here because I'm sure the kid wasn't. I'll hit the car up with a little setting solution to make sure everything is laying down nice and flat, and then we can go ahead and set it aside to make sure that the decals dry. It's very important, crucial, to really make sure the decals are completely set and dry before applying the clear coat. Failing in this can ruin all the work to this point, which would, of course, be sad and unfortunate. So I'm going to leave the car to dry, and then I can turn to other things. I guess now is as good a time as any to fit the car with its new Redlines from Brightvision. These old tires are really on there, and they're a great example of why cutting them off is a better option than pulling them off. Even by cutting them, it took an additional cut to get the entire wheel off. Imagine if I was just trying to pull these off. I, of course, am using my chrome deep dish wheels, which I really love, and I even actually briefly considered putting the large tires on the back. I opted not and went with mediums in the back, smalls in the front. So after some time on the drying light, the decals are set, and I can finally lay down some clear coat. I really do love this stuff. It is a super deep and glossy. It just goes on super easily. I just love how deep and shiny the car gets. It's going to be amazing. This clear coat is just the best thing ever. Seriously, look at this finish, okay? And that should tell you everything about why I am so hooked on the clear coat on these things. Okay, so now we can move on to the idea I had earlier that I mentioned. You probably did, and I mentioned it already, notice that I didn't put any flowers on the roof, and that is because I decided to give the roof a flat white paint job. Now, I was going to leave the roof just red, but I thought the flat white really would look great against this beautiful shiny red. So I have to admit that as I'm starting to lay the tape down, I am second guessing myself, but I do think that the reward will outweigh the risk, so I'm going to forge ahead. I'm using some thin tape and I'm starting to mask off the body. And be sure to burnish down the edges so you don't get any bleed. And always double check your edges just before painting. So the car's masked off and ready to go, so I hit it with some Tamiya Fine Primer in white, and it was perfect. So I just left it at that. I didn't put any other thing over it. I just used the Tamiya Fine Primer. So now I can just carefully peel away the tape. I actually was about to start the assembly when I realized the interior needed to be painted. The original tan just didn't work for me, so I brushed on some flat white to make the interior mesh better with the rest of the build. Finally, I can start putting it all together, which is always a great moment. The body is gleaming, the glass is stunning. This build is going to kick some major fanny. What would a build be without a major hiccup? As I drop the interior in, I see that part of it can be seen in the rear wheel wells. So I pump the brakes and I just brush on some Tamiya Gloss Red to the small areas you can see before final assembly resumes. With that last little speed bump out of the way, I can finally finish the assembly and lock it all down with a couple of button head screws and then a little dab of Molotow Chrome on the engine and I can call this one done. This sure ends up being a stunner, and I hope if the original owner ever sees this video, they're smiling somewhere and remembering the fun times they had with this cool little toy. Well, there you have it, my Kid Paint Python, now my happy little flower power roadster. It was a lot of fun, and I love how it came out, and I hope you love it too. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, please leave them down below. Seriously, your comments are like a big giant hug for me. I love them. It's just the greatest. So please leave some comments. Well, it's time to beat it. Remember, a child's imagination is a beautiful thing. Until next time, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions, saying be good.